Welcome to a brand new RGM podcast, and today's guest is Natalie-Eve Williams. For years, you've been known as BBC Introducing Manchester, and you've got loads of stories about that. And now you've got a new project that we'll talk about on your doorstep as well, which I think is great. And I just wanted to share this as much as I can. But we'll come to all of that. I wanted to start off with the last time I saw you were down at Off the Record, which seems like about 100 years ago.
I was going to say last year, but it wasn't. I keep doing that all the time.
Yeah,
Last year, it's like, no, the year that didn't exist. So
yeah.
we'll
So,
say it was last year.
so everything's just as it is at the minute, and we're all adjusting to it in his own little ways. We're all fed up of it. We all want to move on, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. It looks like gigs are coming back. How do you feel about how the landscape looks at the minute?
I feel, we've been all saying for the best part of the year, can't wait to get back to gigs.
Yeah,
But I'm actually feeling quite apprehensive at the thought of being in a space with a lot of people and people breathing all over you. And I think we've just kind of been conditioned in the last year
yeah.
to feel like that. So I obviously can't wait to go and watch live music again. But yeah, I'm still a little bit anxious about it all, to be
I've
honest.
actually got that as one of my questions to talk about. 'Cause when I'm out and about, I still feel a little bit strange when it starts to build up a little bit. And I can imagine when you go to that first gig, a lot of people are going to be feeling a similar way about it. So I think it's important to raise awareness of when the gigs are coming back, be mindful of people's situations, because it's going to be the first time in a long time that people are in these built up venues and places, beer gardens, whatever it is. I just feel it's important to be mindful of, because I know I'll feel strange about it, and I think a lot of other people will. It'll just be a bit. It's going to be a weird transition in it, going back into the gig
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's weird going into Tesco and kind
Yeah.
of having that, giving personal space,
Mm.
people without masks on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I've lost a few people this year to COVID as well.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Um, but as of a lot of people, somebody, I'm sure everybody knows somebody, whether it's directly connected or not. And I think, especially the last 6 months,
Yeah.
we've been forced to kind of, you know, it's hit home a lot
Mm.
harder than we all thought it would a year ago. I remember going out for coffee with a mate and it was like, oh, we'll just have lockdown for a few weeks and then it'll be back to normal. And it was
Yeah.
working from home, it was a novelty. And now it's like, it's a year later.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat, working from home and adjusting to that, and not going out enough. We had a little chat before we started recording. I need to get out and about. I know you like doing that. But just for my own sanity, I think I just need to get out a bit more, because I miss the gyms and all that kind of stuff. I can't do that. That was my exercise, but I've never been a big walker. But I just need to transition into just getting out and about. I think just
I
walk
need
around the
to,
block and just do it.
I have, excuse me. I hadn't, I went out with the kids and stuff to the
Mm,
countryside and parks, but actually walking like significant amount of miles has become a new thing in the last few months, and it's
mm,
addictive. It's really helped me mentally just to kind
yeah.
of have that space where there's nothing and nobody around you and you just get your little trot on, put your
Yeah, it's
tunes on.
good. Yeah, what tunes are you listening to at the minute? Then is there anything that's inspiring you and new, or is it some of the older stuff? Talk us through your music at the minute now.
A bit of both, really. I think the band that I've listened to mostly over the last
Mm.
12 months has been Soul. They've had four
Oh,
albums out as
mm,
well, which has been great. But they've been kind of on a continuous rotation throughout whatever I'm listening to. I've listened to
mm,
a lot of old soul, which is nothing new for me.
yeah.
And then there's absolutely loads, which is a kind of silver lining in lockdown. There's loads of new music shows,
Mm,
outside of introducing, because we were off air for the best part of 6 months at the
yeah.
beginning of last year. And then through other friends and connections on Twitter, Twitter's been a bit of a savior. I'll talk about that in a minute.
All right.
I've just discovered loads of people who are doing new music shows, whether it's online or whether
Mm,
it's national, and everybody's kind of come together and are sharing artists that they've heard and
yeah.
helping each other out, which has been a really lovely kind of part of it all, I think.
Sure. So I can remember when you announced that you were leaving the show, introducing Manchester show. How's that transition been? Because COVID kicked off, and then the show was off air for 6 months, as you mentioned. I still see your lift pictures online down at down at Media City. So I presume you still got your foot in the door doing projects and things and helping them out a little bit. But what's BBC introducing Manchester look like for you at the minute? Well, people do see your pictures you put online,
It's just a laugh, and you know what? It just started off as a laugh, and it's just become like a running joke now, and I kind of take this out myself a bit, which you've got. But it's become like a marker of the week for some people. Like, I've not been in work this week because the football's on tonight, and people are going, "Where's your lift outfit?" And I was like, it's like it gives us a marker of the weekends. So yeah, that's just become like a bit of a comedy thing. But yeah, with introducing, when me and Michelle decided to step down as presenters, we'd done it for a long time. We did Manchester Music before that, and it was like 15 years we've been doing it on, in various guises and stuff with different presenters. And we both kind of, we both wanted a change, really. And it was getting to the point where the music scene in Manchester is ever evolving, which it always has been. And we just thought it was our duty in a way to let somebody else have a go, if that makes sense. And people were going, "Are you mad? It's like one of the best jobs in radio, blah, blah." Which we're still involved in new music, especially me. We're doing stuff, whether it's doing panels, or I still work with students at BIM in Manchester as part of the artist development team there, which I absolutely love, because you get to know the artists and you see them, with introducing, you saw bands kind of, do bit by bit their career progression.
Yeah.
But with BIM, you see them when they come in as first year students, knowing absolutely nothing in some cases, and they've never recorded, they've never kind of shared music that they've written with anyone. So I feel quite privileged to be a part of that and kind of just help them out. And there's a really good team there, between us all. We cover all genres of music, and it's like passing on connections that we've made in our careers onto the next generation.
Yeah, definitely. Well, one thing you posted an interview online of yourself recently, and there was a story about you, Chris Moyles, and some prom balls. That was one of my favorite bits of the of the article. Just tell us about it, Nat, just so people can know the story about it a bit more.
Yeah, that was from I got asked to do the face behind the voice, which is like quite a big deal for anyone who works in radio. So you get some big name radio presenters doing this kind of like life behind the scenes thing. And when they asked me to do it 6 years ago, I was like, "Have you got the right person? Are you sure?"
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, we've seen what you've been doing, like with new music, and you've worked across different shows and stuff. And I was really taken aback to be asked to do that, on a national platform. It was just like, just me. But yeah, one of the questions was about some of the more testing times in radio. And I used to work after I did my placement with the BBC, I was a broadcast assistant on The Breakfast Show. God knows how I used to get up at that time. But Chris Moyles and the Radio 1 team did a little local radio tour in 2006 or 2007, where they go and do the Radio 1 Breakfast Show, which the biggest radio show in the UK at the time. And they were broadcasting from Oxford Road, from our old Studio 3, which no one really used because it was like the kind of the Duff studio where none of our programs are really broadcast from there. It was used for pre-recs and stuff. And then they were doing all these shout outs on air for people in Manchester. "We need your help. Can somebody bring us a random object?" And one of the random objects that they requested from the people of Manchester was some prawn balls from a Chinese takeaway.
There we go.
And then we got there used to be a lovely lady called Carol who worked on reception at Oxford Road. I'm sure anyone who went would remember her. She was so mank, and she'd be like, she'd bust through to the office, which was at the front of the building at the time. She'd be like, "Hello, reception. I've got some prawn balls here." And I looked at my boss at the time and I was like, don't make me do it. And he was like, well, I'm not doing it. So I had to go to reception, get these prawn balls, go down to Studio 3. And he was like, if anyone's ever encountered a Radio 1 show being produced, there's literally a squad of people with, in local radio world, it's just a presenter, a producer, and a BA, which I was at the time, which is like a runner doing bits of editing and stuff. So I had this package of prawn balls, went down to Studio 3, and I knew that the on-air light wasn't working at the time. So I'm like, go through the first door, then I'm peering through the second door, can see Chris Moyle sat there, can see all the team around him, and I'm like at that in the window, and I went, as if to say, can I come in? And he went. So as I opened the door, everyone kind of just went, a collective gasp. And one of his team of producers kind of looked mortified and was really angry and ushered me out of the door. Yeah. I was like, what are you doing? Do you not know? Blah, blah, blah. I'm there with these prawn balls going. But yeah, the on-air light wasn't working, so it went out on air on Radio 1 that some div at Radio Manchester just interrupted their live.
They did put it like that. It was just an honest mistake, when it was just quite a funny. It's a funny story, I thought.
Oh, no, I got absolutely like chastised on air for it.
Did they? Oh, with it? Oh, sorry. I thought it was a bit more of a fun story than that. So I wouldn't have asked.
No, they were all right. I went for a cigarette with Chris Miles after that. I'm so sorry. But yeah, that was kind of, I think if it would have happened now, I would have been a bit more ballsy about it and been like,
just say, look, you've asked for these fucking balls or whatever. Just take the balls.
Here's your balls.
Yeah, there you go, definitely. So you've got a new project now as well that I wanted to talk to you about. So what's made you start? Oh, where am I? Is a line gone? Oh yeah. So you got it. So what made you start On Your Doorstep then? Talk us through what it is and the plan behind it, because it looks great.
Well, we didn't know what it was at first, if we're completely honest. It's myself and Michelle Snowden, she's worked in radio a long time as well. And she had her son when hi, talking about sons, my son's just gate crashing.
There you go, babe.
I'm just in the middle of an interview, Max. This is like daily life at the moment.
It's fine.
All right. I'll see you in a bit.
Like this?
Yeah. Okay. And my creaky door, yeah. Jay.
My cat will be in next. It's fine.
He's asking if I could gel his hair before we go out. Where are we up to then? On Your Doorstep.
Yeah, On Your Doorstep, mate.
I met Michelle Snowden when I met Michelle Hussey. Did the Radio Manchester stuff with for a long time. And they were doing a show at the time on The Revolution in Oldham with Martin Coogan and Mike Joyce, and Clint was on there. It was a bit like how XS is now, it was quite a cool station.
Yeah.
Playing, all like songs from years ago and mixed with new stuff. And then when that kind of came to an end, I had a meeting with the girls and we're like, we need to do something as women who support new music. Yeah. We need to try and find a way into doing something, which is how the Manchester music thing came about. But Michelle then got pregnant with a lovely little boy, George. Not the boy George. Yeah, she got pregnant with George and kind of went off the radar a bit and kind of took a back seat. And then when me and Michelle decided to step down from introducing, and Michelle Hussey's doing, she's doing a poetry writing, which is incredible, which nobody kind of saw coming. And she's doing stuff with the SKA project at Jodrell Bank, Little Space Cadet. She's kind of gone off in that direction. And me and Michelle have always wanted to work together in some capacity because we're so alike in so many. We're like the same things together, but we didn't really know what to do. So we started off thinking about doing events for parents who've got young kids
Mm.
in school, and who have also got babies, or they haven't, they've moved to a new area and didn't know many people. So we were thinking about putting events on with kind of acoustic music and
Mm.
little workshops and stuff like that. Then COVID happened,
Yeah.
so that all went tits up.
Yeah.
And we've both got kids,
Mm.
so we just got bored of kind of taking the kids to the same places in Manchester, Heaton Park, Tandle Hill, the same old, same old. So we were ourselves kind of discovering all these little places in the vicinity of where we lived that we could walk to, that we kind of, some of them we knew were there, others didn't have a clue. Some of the amazing
Mm.
places that are literally 5-10 minute walk from where I live, I've been mind blowing, and have lived in North Manchester all my life.
Yeah.
So we were kind of guided in a weird way with what Doorstep became. And obviously we've both got connections in the music industry, and we've been talking a lot with musicians about mental health,
Mm.
just before lockdown even. So we kind of married that up with the playlist thing. We were asking some of the brilliant musicians and artists that we knew, can you do as a playlist to help people when they're going on walks, or they want to escape,
Mm.
sit in the room or in the bath or whatever and have some peace and quiet. Send us some playlists of what you're listening to and what's helped you. And that's become a weekly thing. I think we're on about week 33, 34 or something now with
Wow.
that. And it's kind of just brought all these different aspects of music, mental health, community all together, and it's just been a really organic thing. And then we've
Yeah.
decided to turn it into a community interest company, so it's like a non-profit thing.
Mm.
So we're hoping to get some funding to do like more niche stuff in certain, because we cover the 10 boroughs of Greater Manchester. We're hoping to do stuff in each of the boroughs, in the little towns and communities, with the people
Mm.
who live there, to try and get to know your neighbours, get to know what's going on in your community, create a safe space for people to go and have a brew eventually, or to
Mm.
go walking together and stuff like that. But also, again, it's kind of filtering the music side of it in
Mm.
there. So hopefully we'll be able to do gigs and stuff in smaller areas,
Yeah.
in
No,
go on.
I was just going to ask, what kind of feedback are you getting back from it, from the people that are getting involved?
It's been really overwhelming. I mean, we
Mm.
set it up in July last year officially, and we just had loads of support from
Mm.
people. But it's been, aside from all the brilliant people in Greater Manchester who kind of work in the industry and stuff, who've been amazing, helping us kind of get the profile up there.
Yeah.
The best thing about it for us is we get a lot of messages of people saying that it's really helped them.
Mm.
So people who've been in quite dark places for various reasons, have private messaged us and said, your little quotes that you do. I read your quotes this morning, and it
Mm.
really did inspire me to get up and get out and phone my friend who I've not spoke to for ages. And
Mm.
it's little things like that it can be quite, you don't realise how something so small can impact someone's, day. And therefore, sometimes, life, it certainly has helped me
Mm.
in this last 12 months, without a doubt. It's been kind of a bit of therapy for me.
Yeah. No, I can imagine, and everybody's affected in different ways. I was speaking to Aaron from Slow Readers on a previous episode, and he mentioned he feels himself sometimes dwelling on old experiences when he's had a night out and he's just got a bit too drunk or whatever, like dwelling on really old experiences that you've had. And I found myself doing that more through lockdown. I consider myself quite strong-minded and that kind of stuff, but you've got to kind of notice little things about yourself that have changed during lockdown that probably weren't there before, and little things like that can build, can't they, and turn into
Yeah.
something that might be more harmful for your own mental health, I suppose. And I recognize that in myself, and appreciated Aaron opening up with that, because it made me realize that I'm a little bit like that too. I keep dwelling on old things, and just talking about it is great, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, 100%. And, we're all great at telling other people to do it. And
Mm. Yeah.
you know, like with doorstep, but we totally appreciate. I mean, the way that we do it, I'm quite proud of us in a way, because again, going back to the feedback thing,
Mm.
for people who aren't comfortable just, in social situations in general, that's going to be extra difficult for them to
Yeah.
admit that they're feeling a certain way. So the way we kind of do the mental health stuff, we've worked with Manchester Mind, we've worked with Papyrus, who deal
Yeah.
with the effects of young suicide
Mm.
and preventative of young suicide, but it's also support for family and friends of people who they think might be in danger of going down
Yeah.
a certain road. There's all these brilliant platforms in Manchester and nationally, but speaking from experience as well, it's like you to admit to yourself when you're struggling with something
Mm.
is the biggest step. Whereas, to contact one of these brilliant charities or associations can be a bit overwhelming for some people. So the way we kind of do it, it's a bit sneaky in a way, but in a good way, is we'll get some of these organizations to do little videos about what they're about and put a face to the organization.
Mm.
So Joe from Papyrus did a little video for us, and then we'll just leave it on the website.
Mm.
So it's like, it's there if you want to have a look, it's there.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, if you want to test the water a bit,
So,
and ease yourself into
people
that.
will end up on the site naturally because they're looking for stuff to do on the doorstep and look for these great things, and then they'll just see this little, oh, what's that? Ah, I'm feeling a bit. Oh, that I recognize a little bit of myself there. Let me see what that is, and then they find it in their own, rather than it get. There's a lot of stuff about mental health being shoved down people's neck at the minute on the media, which is raising awareness is great, but to have that safe space for
really
people just to find it, yeah.
And I think everybody's different. Some people, once they open up and talk about stuff, can find it really therapeutic. Other people, it can frighten the life out of them, literally. And I think seeing other people, we started doing these hometown sessions, which have been really great. So we had the Gitanas, the KTNA, Hope and Millie. They were living back at their mum's in Blakely because they spend quite a lot of time in London and in America. So we said, when you do a little video at your mum's while you're back, it's talking about your local area, where you grew up, where you went for walks, what you're doing now to help. And they did a really nice interview and a little session about, their mental health, not just in the music industry, but because of everything that's going on and how they're dealing with it. And then Abby Ozard did one for us a couple of weeks ago. And it was just Abby sat in her bedroom, playing us some songs. But again, talking about, just being really honest about how she's dealt with stuff. Because I think everybody struggled in one way or another. Some people some people have found positives in it. They've cracked on with making music, or they've reconnected with people. Some people have just been really, really lonely and had to face a lot of stuff that, whereas before, where they were gigging or they were working or, doing other stuff, it was kind of pushed to the back. People have been, in a way, in a good way, sometimes been forced to deal with stuff.
Do you think it's going to be when we're all out of this comfort bubble in a way, and we're all having to think about ourselves and spending more time on ourselves at the minute, when we are allowed back out, do you think that's going to have a negative impact on people's mental health when they are out and they're back in the real world and they're not in this safe bubble, which is the living room watching Netflix, and they are having to re-engage with society again? Do you think that could spur on a lot more anxieties? I think it personally could.
Yes and no, because I've seen people being a lot kinder to each other, and people, realizing how their words or their actions can really affect other people. Everyone likes to think they were really aware of it, but I think the last 12 months, just the fact of messaging someone, are you all right?
Yeah.
It can help people. But you don't want to be like the nosy Parker. Are you all right?
I know.
Letting everybody know that we're all there. If you just, I think that's the best way to kind of do it.
Sure.
And like you said, to be open about our own struggles. You don't have to share the ins and outs, but just the fact that somebody who you might perceive as being a really strong person, looking at the social media.
Yeah.
A friend of mine actually said recently, I'm not coping as well as other people. I said, how do you kind of work that out?
Mm.
Well, when I look at everybody's Instagram and Twitter,
Yeah.
everyone that, and I'm like, I posted, I posted a picture of, this is really random, of a horse that looked like Rod Stewart.
Okay.
So, somebody had put something on Facebook about they'd been for a walk and it was this horse, and we ended up having a laugh. Long story short, and I posted a picture of Rod Stewart with the same hair as this horse, and she said, it's like things like that. You're having a laugh, and I said, when I posted that picture, it was one of the worst days that I'd had,
Yeah.
and I'd been in tears for 4 days, and I was sat. I can remember the moment, and sat dicking about in the living room.
Yeah.
I was like, my eyes were like that. I felt like absolute shit. But this is the thing, don't believe what you see on social
Yeah,
media.
definitely, definitely. And I think I'm because I'm so conscious of how I might feel when gigs are allowed back. When I start doing RGM live gigs again, and we've got dates booked up to the end of the year in Gulliver's and stuff, and we're trying to book bands now. Fingers crossed that it's going to
Yeah.
happen. But I think I'm going to put signs up just saying, I don't know what to put. What would you put on a sign to a gig? To try and like let the crowd and the people that are around us know that it might feel weird, but let's work together on this and just try and work through it. The first time, I don't really know what I'm trying to say. I haven't proper thought this
No,
through,
I
but
know. I know.
I just think it's going to be weird when we get back into these environments, and I want to make people feel as comfortable as I can. And I haven't worked out how I'm going to do that yet.
I think. Well, the first thing is you're talking about it. I think
Mm,
when you're advertising the gigs and stuff, maybe just just address the issue that
yeah.
a lot of people will be really anxious. We all can't wait to get back and
Mm,
be watching live music and be in that atmosphere with other like-minded people. But the like-mindedness as well also now includes
mm.
crippling anxiety of we still don't know actually what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's just that it's baby steps, I think, with that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of just the first time you put a gig on, you will be anxious and excited in equal
I was,
measure. But
I was speaking to bands the other day and I forgot that, the usual kind of stuff. Don't book bands like 2 weeks before and after and all that kind of stuff. And I forgot to mention quite a lot of this stuff to a band. I was like, I'm right out of practice. It's weird, this. I'm even used to bands being annoying and like, I'm missing that. I'm missing everything about the whole live music part of it. And even the bad bits. Well, the annoying bits, the annoying but cool bits. You know what I mean? It's all good, and I'm
the bits
what's
that
that?
nobody sees, the real
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, the real bits, the real bits. So it's opened up, with the sad news about Sarah Everard recently. It's brought up more stories in the media around, particularly females don't feel safe when they're out, and because I see a lot of, and this is just linking into the last story a little bit about getting out and about and feeling safe. Um, how do you feel about I see a lot of people on the socials, particularly women at the minute, just sharing examples, probably for the first time, around bad experience they've had at gigs, and it's been highlighted before, and it's been highlighted again with the sad news about Sarah that's come out recently. How do you feel about that whole topic and what we can be doing as our own little media people to try and help and support people with information around what has been going on at gigs?
Again, talking about it,
Uh,
people who have, I'm sure at some point, you know, as a woman, there's been incidents on varying kind of levels,
mm,
but everyone I know has experienced either some dodgy bloke pretending to be trying to get to the front and rubbing himself up against you or something like that at a gig it's like little things like that are actually quite big things,
yeah.
in terms of violating your personal space again.
Mm,
Everyone loves to be at a gig dancing or whatever, but some people can take advantage of that, and it's not just
yeah.
at gigs, you know. Um yeah, it's I think that there's what I'm trying to say is there's excuses made sometimes where it's, oh, kind of get over it. Someone's felt your ass or someone said something to you.
Mm,
But, you know, as a woman, I mean, I'm physically big. I'm like nearly 6 foot tall. I'm not slim. But even then, it's like, you know, it's kind of, people assume, oh yeah, you can look after yourself. You
mm,
quite bolshy, gobby. It's like, why would you feel threatened?
mm,
It's because of that reason, you know. It's
mm,
because sometimes it's not taken seriously. Women traveling to gigs on their own, you know, leaving gigs on their own, being in kind of that crowd situation.
mm,
Um, yeah, it's intimidating,
mm.
you know, and some of the language used against women. You
Yeah.
know, I go to football. Well, I did go to football matches quite a lot, and I have seen the difference in, you know, what it was years ago.
Yeah.
The way women, you know, a woman physio was on the pitch at a City and Chelsea match a few years ago, and again, it was
Mm,
like people shouting, "Get your tits out!" And I
mm,
just thought, you know, they thought it was funny. This woman's
yeah.
there in front of thousands and thousands of people just trying to do a job
Mm,
and having to be subjected to that, and it's like it's just not on, is it? You
no.
know, people can have a laugh, but it's when you actually, you know, attacking somebody for just being a woman,
Yeah.
it's kind of, I don't know, it's just dodgy territory, in it, really.
It definitely is. And as a male in the industry, I want to be more aware of it and call it out when I see it at gigs and that kind of stuff. I think that's important for us to step up as the male community to support these things that,
You know, I've been
aren't
really,
on.
I've been really lucky. Like the bands that I've worked with over the years, and you know, colleagues and stuff, been really lucky that way, where the people who kind of are aware of that.
Mm,
But I don't think it kind of went. That mentality didn't kind of filter down to a lot of people who were in the crowds. Some artists, admittedly, yeah, I've
mm,
seen and heard a few things about artists who are quite well known that don't sit, you know, make me uncomfortable.
mm,
Um, yeah, and I think from the other side of it, from like the journalistic side or the radio presenter side, um, I speak to a lot of my peers, you know, female radio presenters,
mm,
female DJs. It's quite interesting as well. I was talking to somebody who has worked on national radio quite a bit and who's doing stuff now, with kind of, you know, the whole music scene, still doing interviews and stuff.
mm.
Some of the comments that she's received about her appearance,
Wow.
just, it's like you just can't believe this is still going on. And this is from people, from, you know, bosses, people who are hiring.
Mm,
You're not quite right for this because of your image or how you look, or,
yeah.
and you're kind of thinking, men don't have to put up with that.
No.
You know, that doesn't come into it if you're going for a job as a bloke in music. That doesn't come into it at all.
I'm,
Whereas women, it's still a part of it. It is still, you know, how you look, how you perceived.
it's just shocking. And I'm just shocked that it's as bad as what it is, being a bit naive with it all, not noticing these things. These stories are shocking for me to hear, really, because I've probably not historically appreciated what goes on behind the scenes with this kind of stuff because I just haven't seen it at all. I've seen the comments at gigs and football matches and all that kind of stuff. I have seen that. I do need to step up more and call out when I do it. For me personally, I think just from being that naive about it and maybe not saying stuff when you, but then again, you've got to do that safely as well, haven't you? So
Yeah,
it's a minefield.
I feel
But
it.
for the greater
But
good, it's got to be done.
and I think, you know, it's like with any kind of social awareness and kind of calling people out and stuff like that. It's a conversation, or even, you know,
Mm,
like with the Black Lives Matter movement. I know a lot of people was actually scared of talking about it, and I was like, well, just ask questions.
yeah.
If you're not sure about what language to use or anything with it, you know, whether it's women's rights, whether it's, LGBTQ plus, right? If you're not comfortable having a conversation because you don't know how to, address somebody, or you don't know enough about the subject, educate yourself. There's enough stuff out there online. There's enough people who would welcome a conversation with you. If you're not sure about the right terms to use or the right practice, whatever it is, just ask.
Ask the question.
The fact that you want to better yourself and you want to be more aware of certain things, that's all people ask for, don't they? They just educate yourself. Nobody knows everything. There's even times when there's been stuff at the BBC where it's like, I need to just double check that that's the right terminology to use, or we're all learning.
Is there like a BBC Bible, by the way, just because you mentioned that? Is there like a list of words you can and can't say, like, and how you've got to say certain words? I'm just interested in that.
Do you mean like there's like a swear hierarchy?
I mean, what you can say live.
Not much on BBC local radio.
Well, I can imagine, but I'm just wondering, how do you judge that? Because we've all got gobs and that, and sometimes we say something that we don't like mean. Well, especially me and all sometimes. But how do you if you're live on air and a conversation happens and you're like, what word am I allowed to say here? Does it stunt your conversation sometimes because you are on the BBC? That's just come out of nowhere, that conversation. But I'm just interested.
With the BBC, everything you can't have somebody on talking about like a viewpoint without having somebody else representing the opposite.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Non-bias and when around times of elections and stuff like that, we can't have anybody who's very visibly attached to one party without getting somebody from the other party.
Okay.
Okay. So,
which is the right way. Is the right. We've got to have some media company that does it that way, haven't we? For God's sake, it's hard work out there.
It's like with it's difficult as well. I've been in trouble before, talking about stuff socially and politically because I'm not supposed to.
Yeah.
Anyone who works for the BBC is not supposed to kind of
even on your own
opinions on stuff.
People have been sacked, haven't they, just for sharing few things. I know Toby Foster in Sheffield, where I'm from originally. Toby Foster, comedian, says what he likes at night. It is comedy nights. It just says the tiniest wrong thing, cancel culture and all that kind of stuff. People jump on it like they do on Twitter and all that stuff. And the next minute you're off air while an investigation goes on. It's hard work out there to tell stories in a working class way.
Yeah, shall we say?
Yeah.
But there was an example the other day with John McClure from Reverend and the Makers when he was calling out going back to football again. It's kind of, some people have still got attitude where, oh, we're only joking, we can say what we want. It's like you can't really now when you're being stereotypical about somebody, or there's racist connotations in there or sexist connotations in there. I think it's a generational thing as well sometimes, where people genuinely say things like, oh, well, they used to say that all the time when I was growing up, or that was, and it's like, it's not acceptable now.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you speak out and call people out on it, then you can see, some quite horrific comments and threats to people who are just trying to make it a level playing field for everybody.
I've been mentioning and trying to. I've been trying to work on how transparent we are at RGM with all our claims and everything that we do, because I think it's important that in the blog world it's not regulated in any way at all. So I think it's important to be open and honest about your figures, and particularly if a band's paying for a package to RGM, like a promotional package to us, I think it's important that they know what they're going to get for the money and what kind of reach that's going to get them, and just be as open and honest with that kind of stuff. What's my point? So just transparency in the industry, and transparency in social media as well. I still don't understand why. mind got ticking there. I still don't understand why you don't have to show ID to have a social media account. So whatever you
Yeah.
post online, you're accountable for, and then you've got no excuse, because then people know who you are. You can't hide behind an egg picture on Twitter, or you can't hide behind a new account that you've just set up just to give someone some stick because you didn't agree with them online. I still don't understand why we can't upload, like you do opening a bank account, social media on every panel. You should show your ID so people are accountable for what they say online. I still don't understand why that's not a thing.
Totally agree with you on that, because there've been quite a few documentaries, hasn't there, in the past couple of years, especially from celebrities, and people will troll them. Even people who've had kids murdered and stuff like that. You can get somebody being really, really horrific and not be held accountable.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's hiding behind some weird avatar, and getting off on being really disgusting to people.
I just think that example, what you used, I saw all the madness on John McClare's Twitter feed. I know John personally, and it's some horrible stuff was said, and it would cut that out, or it would cut a massive proportion of it out if people were held accountable for what they were saying to other people online. I just think I don't get why they won't take that step, the big social people.
Especially like when it comes to death threats, when you've got family. Well, even if you're on your own, it's just as bad. But if you've got little kiddies as well, and you're going to obviously be thinking about them. But then it's that other side, which I've got a story for you in a minute, where it's people saying, we should be able to say what we want. It's free speech. It's like, no, you don't actually know what free speech is then, do you? If free speech doesn't give you the right to go and be racist or sexist or, hate crimes, and it's like you can't just have a free reign to go say what you can. Have an opinion, but you can't personally just attack people and not be held accountable.
And you can't claim that your opinion is fact either.
No.
Which a lot of people think their opinion is fact when it's not, which is
there's
a gripe of mine online.
There's a lot of that at the minute, especially with the COVID thing, and when again, everybody's got their right to an opinion, but when you kind of being aggressive about how other people choose to live their life, or just for just being themselves, sometimes it's you kind of think I just don't get how people can think that's okay in this day and age.
Even before social media, people were always nosy. It were always going to happen when social media became a thing, that your life's become a smaller place if you are active on social media, because people can just see wherever you are in the world. People can connect with you and know what you're up to. But the self-righteousness of some people to tell people what to do or what they should be doing is just ridiculous. Just mind your own business, live your own life, make yourself learn stuff, do different stuff, have different experiences, just educate yourself a little bit more, just do what
just have just have an actual conversation. Instead of being so aggressive and so personal, and just not having anything to back it up in some cases, just calling someone a dickhead or worse. And that's people have got to accept that. I know there's people who can't stand me, but
no way.
Like, you've just hard to believe.
No.
But you kind of have to, if you're going to be on social media, you've got to be aware of, you're going to irritate people. People are going to think, oh God, it's her again, I can't stand her. Mute, delete. I don't take that personally at all.
No.
Just like, there's people who I can't stand for whatever reason, but then it's like, I wouldn't go online and slag them off, or it's just that you don't associate with them. Don't let it be part of your life. Just live your own happy little life if they're not affecting you in any way, and just let them get on with theirs.
That's why I like that's why I like podcasts, because you can just sit down, have a chat for 45 minutes with people in the industry, discuss things. Throughout this whole podcast series, I've never pretended that I'm an expert in everything. I'm just trying to learn stuff because, yeah. And I'm 42 now, and I thought when I was a kid, I thought I'd know everything by the time I was 42, but you don't, do you? You just, you know what I mean? You're always learning like you were when you were 18. Maybe you've got a bit more life experience or whatever, and you've sorted out where to live and all the normal boring household adult stuff, but you're still learning every day, aren't you? And I definitely
probably learned more in the last 10 years about myself. And, when we were talking about that thing, when you look back and you think, God, I was so naive then, still naive now to a point, but
Me too.
just with certain things and, with your own attitudes as well sometimes, because again, people didn't talk about stuff as much. You only kind of learn off who you went to school with or who you were hanging around with or your family or whatever. I think I've learned a lot by associating with other people, like you said, whether it's in the industry or whether it's socially or whatever, and learning just about different communities and different parts of. Sorry, the postman's just.
Oh, is it?
Glamour.
What have you ordered from Amazon now?
No. But yeah, I was saying before about the way that people think they can kind of attack people for either their point of view on something or something that I've spoken quite openly about in the past is people who don't get the music played on introducing, taking that really personally. And some of the consequences of that I think, would that have happened if it would have been two blokes doing the show? Maybe not. Maybe in some cases. But there's been some quite vile incidents over the years, which are the minority. I'm happy to say most people are really, really lovely. And when like I said, I'm happy to have a chat with anybody and tell them about introducing, how it works. Share my screen and say, this is the inbox from our side. This is how it works. You might think your song's kind of been laid stagnant, but it's been forwarded on to various people or for playlists and stuff like that. But yeah, there was an incident last year that I've not spoke about publicly, but a few people in my friend's circle and a few other musicians were aware of it. There was a guy who put a rap up on his social media. It was quite sexually aggressive about me, and because we'd not played his music on the show. And I'd been out with the kids to Heaton Park and came back, and when I logged on Instagram, there was these messages, and I was just like, shit. It frightened me because the things that he was saying. And I saw that there was a few people who he followed who were new, so I was kind of asking them about, who is this person. General consensus was he was a bit of a live wire, shall we say? But one of the comments of somebody that was quite disappointed with, and it was said in jest apparently, was, well, you shouldn't put selfies online of yourself. And I was like, so me putting a selfie of me on holiday or going out or whatever justifies somebody saying about what they want to do to me and rape essentially in a really graphic way. The BBC were really good because I did voice my concerns to my boss, and I got the security team at work because I was like, am I really am I overthinking this? Am I panicking? It did frighten me. It really frightened me because people know where I work, people know what time I'm there and stuff. Or they did at the time. Nobody does now, even though I do my lift selfies. But yeah, as a woman, I was really frightened at that, and it might just been, it's just him being daft because and it's like, well, it really did frighten me. But it was that thing again of not the fact that somebody, was quite vocal about their kind of beef with me. The fact that because I'm a woman and I put pictures of myself on my Instagram, and there's, look at my Instagram, there's nothing where I'm like, no one wants to see anything like that anyway. But they're not provocative or and it's like the fact that someone's actually said that, but there's the problem right there.
Yeah, I wish I had any more answers for you. I'd just flabbergasted by the story and just how people can think that's even a good idea. It's just ridiculous.
Well, but it's not as uncommon as you think. When I've spoken to a lot of other women, that you're a slag because you've not played my song, or they will attack their physical appearance. And it's like, but this is a conversation that, like I said, that I had with a national radio presenter quite recently, and we were just kind of sharing stories, just ended up gabbing, like you did. Well, how are you doing? How are you coping? I love that picture. Yeah. Blah, blah. I'm thinking of coming up to Manchester in summer, where would be good? And then the conversation turned like quite naturally to work that had been applied for, and some of the comments and some of the feedback that this person had, I was just like, God, mate, that is disgusting. The reason that you're not getting a job is because of how you look. It doesn't quite fit. And I'm like, what?
Shocking.
But yeah, I think this kind of thing does need calling out, people accountable for it. And I did a masterclass with Zuzu. You're aware of Zuzu?
We shared her on RGM loads.
Brilliant female artist from Liverpool. And we were talking about, her perspective as a female musician, or just as a musician. The fact that we even have to say female musician really gets on my nerves.
We put a post out for 20 female fronted musicians and got a bit of stick from that on RGM. How should we have worded that? What would be best?
This is the thing. It's like with National Women's Day. Me and Roche had this conversation because we wanted to celebrate the brilliant female identifying talent in Greater Manchester. You also don't want to do it as kind of a token thing.
Yes, yeah.
So, we want to encourage more female identifying artists to upload their stuff to us, introducing. We don't want it to be kind of, I mean, there's kind of an initiative at the BBC now, which is 50-50. And I talk about this talked about on air, the way that it's done, they're striving to get every programme 50-50 male, female, like they are with gigs and stuff like that. Now, if you've listened to Introducing in Manchester, historically, we've always kind of mixed it up with genres and, with everything really in Manchester. We've had all different music, all different kinds of artists. But now we have to do this 50-50 thing, and it's, I just don't like the way that it's done. And I've spoken about this, people at the BBC. I just think sometimes if we've got a show and we've got 20 songs there and they're really good songs, and we don't even think about who's behind the songs. We just listen to the tracks, and then it's, that's a good song, that's a good song. So then kind of have to
put them into a pot.
Yeah.
A percentage pot of whatever that.
Yeah, to list. And it's like, how many female vocalists have you had? How many? I think that's kind of a bit, I don't know. I just think
you can see why they're doing it, but it's new into it, and people still learn it.
Yeah, and but like the intention and everything is, we do need more females. Or female identifying presenters, musicians, but we also we just need a good mix of everyone, really. I think, and I think the fact that if it's not 50-50, if it's 70-30, or do we then have to go and find some female artists just to bump the numbers up?
Yeah.
That, if I've heard 20 songs, Roche has heard 20 songs, Shell Zen has heard 20 songs, Vic's heard 20 songs, and between us we've gone, right, this is what we think. We've all shortlisted. This is what we've like collectively shortlisted together. Then to say, oh well, actually, out of all these songs that we think are really good, we need to put another 3 women in here to make the balance. I don't think that is a fair way of doing it. I'll probably get
it don't feel right. It don't feel right, does it?
Well, no, because I think it's.
I don't know what the answer is, but it just don't feel right.
No, I just think it's someone's made. I think it's sometimes it's a bit condescending to the artist. You know, you've only been put in because we were low on female numbers.
Yeah,
it's like not because you saw.
They'd never know that though, would they? But you just know that the mechanics behind it have created that.
And I think I do kind of understand that in certain areas where they might only be getting, a lot of. I talked about this the other day. I did a thing for the Prince's Trust where we were talking about the uploads and how that's changed over the years. So when I first worked on Manchester Music and introducing, it was very like male heavy and a lot of kind of indie bands who were trying to sound like Oasis or whatever. It wasn't that music wasn't being made. It was just nobody was sending us anything else really at the time, or very few people were. Or they didn't think, because of the stuff that was getting played or the stuff that was kind of representative of introducing at the time, across the board was very male heavy and very kind of indie band driven. A lot of people who were making soul music or DJs or whatever weren't uploading because they had this misconception of, well, there's no point in me sending stuff to introducing because they don't really play that stuff.
Yeah.
And then once we've had conversations with people, gone to gigs or whatever and said, send us and they were like, I didn't really think that I could. So again, it was conversations. And happy to say now in Manchester, I've seen it's always been there. We've always kind of tried to search out music of all different types. But I think with Roche at the helm now as well, we've seen a massive influx of, Afro beats and stuff like that that's been being made in Manchester that wouldn't have, had that platform without Roche being involved and kind of reaching out to other people who are making different types of music. So I think between all 4 of us who work on the show now, we cover a lot of ground in terms of music genres and whether and age. Even people think you've got to be kind of under 25 to send to introduce it. No, you don't. It's like anyone who's making music.
Brilliant.
Well, what? I think this coffee's
Natalie-Eve Williams, really appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for joining us. I think we've covered some class ground there, I think, mate. I only had one note. I just had one note. I thought I knew we'd be all right for this podcast, and it's worked out great. So I wish you all the best. Have a lovely evening. Thanks for joining us on this podcast. And
you keep up the good work as well, because
thank you.
See what you're doing, and we met at a kind of networking event thing, didn't we? And it's been good to see you kind of keep pushing boundaries and getting people involved with stuff, because
that's the plan.
You did a great job.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. I'll just stop the recording now, mate. Here we go.